So, welcome back to the entrepreneur's journey. And today we'll be talking about formalizing the effort. And the topics of discussion for today will be education presence, paper presence, financial presence, digital presence, and community presence. So, for each topic, we'll have a little bit to say on our perspectives. And the first one we'll cover is educational presence. And in this topic, we'll discuss some of the books that has helped us inspire and shape our habits in life, as well as allowed us to create our business. And we'll also be talking about the knowledge being imparted from these life lessons, book learnings. And it's not necessarily book learnings, it could even be learnings through watching YouTube videos, as well as investing money in educational courses. So, Byron, what are your 2 cents on the educational presence?
It's important to understand what's possible. I think that allows for you to strive beyond like that glass ceiling of what we're traditionally told to do and follow in the path for. So the educational presence is pivotal. It gives you a compass, it builds your pillars of understanding, which is tremendous because there are events in your life that you're going to be going through that it's probably important to have received insight on those things before they happen, regardless of whether or not you want to engage in the same activity or make the same mistake. At the end of the day, the goal is to learn, right? The goal is not to suffer in silence. It wasn't for my family. It's not necessarily the scope of how we wanted to move forward. A lot of people don't think that it's important to invest in yourselves, or they feel as though investing in yourselves come in different things in life, which are things, as opposed to concepts, as opposed to ideas, events, monuments, moments. Those things are imparted upon you, and you share those things with your family. You're able to engage at a different level. It's not to say that you're not going to make those same mistakes, but that's why it's important to start building the awareness around why you want to do this. Why would you want to build time and buy your time back? Build time blocks and buy your time back. Understanding that you're buying your time in the future by making decisions that allow for you to move more free in your time now without worrying about the things like money, because money allows for you to move in this world, such as the United States, in a different way than when you don't have it, right? There's different levels of struggles that you have, and there's different levels of experience that you're able to even have without a tool such as, that currency. So when you're learning about the currency, you have to figure out the mindset around it. The mindset is the most important thing, because if you approach it as an employee, you're going to be stuck in the same rut. You're going to be doing the same work without the proper renewals and the proper rewards for yourself. So invest in the books, invest in the courses. I remember there was a course, the first personal development, professional development course that I took, that was in, I believe it was in Portland, Oregon. No, it was in Washington. It was in Seattle, Washington. $600. You had to put a down payment, and it felt like it was the world. Like, it was like, oh my God, $600 for this. But that was a switch that I had to make, a switch that we had to make, an investment that I had to put on myself and say, I'm going to make the investment in time, an investment in resources, and the relationship investment. People that I was going to be engaged with there, the family that I went with there, the level of understanding that we would have around each other would hopefully be deepened. And it has. So those investments that you make in yourself, they really transcend like the physical presence of just, or not even physical presence, the existence of money. And that's what we do it for. We do it so that we can be better people. And a main concept that we're having is that when my family came to this country, I think we came here for the opportunity, but we still had to learn how to navigate. And the navigation came with language, it came with culture, those things that are intentionally taught in the home and exclusively presented in public, right? You either know the language or you don't know the language, but you have to learn how to navigate nonetheless, you know, and figure it out, man. It's not expensive as expensive as we think, right? Because people used to downplay YouTube, right? We were talking about this earlier here. People used to downplay YouTube because people will say that you're learning from this space where, you know, there's amateurs. And then I go to my university and they're showing me YouTube presentations, you know, and it's like, dude, I could have just looked this stuff up myself.
Yeah.
But I think it's the level of exposure, because then you build the confidence around how to approach things, what to decipher, how to decipher, and then also how to implement, you know, and step back and see if it works. Is it not working? That's what I think, having that scientific mind, and really like a science of thrival and survival, right? You have to learn how to navigate by the experience, but you're learning how to navigate to win, not to just play the game. And I think that mentality comes from inspiration, not just books, maybe people, you know, maybe videos, maybe speaking to your grandmother, your grandfather. It comes in those different ways. And when you start taking a step back and having some presence, I've found that it's more beneficial than when I'm closed off. I usually have more success when I'm open to learning. And in this game, that's all we got. All we got is learning and implementing, right? Analysis and re-implementation. So
I love it, man.
I enjoy the educational presence. Is vital for sure. And it allows for you to know how to take the next step, you know, which is establishing your business, the paper presence of it.
Education is very important with setting the presence and formalizing the effort. And, you know, piggybacking on what you said about YouTube, had it not been for YouTube, I would have never passed college. I would have never gotten good grades in college, especially math, because there's so many great instructors on YouTube, and just listening to a 10-minute video on YouTube gave me more knowledge than attending 1 year of lectures, because the way the subscribers on YouTube, the way the author would present the materials, it was so efficient, it was so simplified, there was no rant. It was just straight to the point, straight to the business. So I like the idea of investing time and money in educational courses, because and setting time blocks, because if you don't set time blocks to learn every day or even every week, it's going to be very hard to build things. You know, successful entrepreneurs learn even after they get the educational degree. The educational degree doesn't mean anything. What the knowledge that one should impart from the educational experience is how you can learn how to learn every day, and that's the most challenging part. But I really enjoy reading educational books that, you know, help me learn a skill, as well as invest in courses that can expand my horizon. You know, just like you, I also did a course in Seattle between 2019 and 2020. It was a UX design certificate course. I learned a lot about UX designs, the fundamentals, the principles, and I applied that knowledge when I started Offsite Team. The moment I launched Upside Team, I was able to launch half a dozen websites because I had a very strong sense of design from the skills that I learned through this course. And in addition to that, I also made some connections to my design course. I hired interns through this course, and these interns helped me with the product development stages of the websites that I was building for myself and for my clients. And after having them as interns in my team for 12 weeks, they were all able to successfully land a job at a company because they were able to gain some knowledge from the internship experience. And to me, that was a very satisfying feeling. But more importantly, a lot of people think that they're very afraid to spend money, and they have a very frugal mindset. And when you're running a business, that's a great thing to have. But when it comes to self-development, you should put a percentage of your earnings aside for educational purposes. That does not mean invest in an MBA. Do not buy into college programs because they are exceedingly expensive. We're talking about investing in educational courses that you see online. Google has certificate courses that you can take.
Yeah, man, fact, what is it? Udemy?
Udemy, yeah.
Yeah, they. I know people definitely learn a lot for a lot of little. They are definitely learning a lot for a little, and that's stuff like that's a blessing. You people
and even
don't know
masterclass. People
masterclass love it, man.
Cook in masterclass, and
there's a lot of variety on there.
Yeah, would you rather spend $100,000 getting an MBA from a college professor who's never made it, or would you rather learn from a course developed by a multimillionaire who made it and is selling you the course for $300? I would pick the course sold by the multimillion-dollar person who is selling for $300 because
he knows.
He's built a proof of concept.
Look, how many of our professors in college? I didn't take any necessarily courses that would have had anyone in that space, but I don't know if there were any professors that I was exposed to that have owned a business that talked about business.
Yeah, it could be possible. It could be a dime in a dozen, but it's very unlikely that a college professor is
because they know theories.
It's
theories.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I did have a professor in college who did work for like a large corporation for decades, and he was teaching on the side. But after having a conversation with him, he was telling me, in spite of working for the university as well as working for this large corporation for many years, it's not like I'm a very successful person. I have so many kids in my family that I need to feed. The income is definitely helping, but it's not like I'm very successful. So that's
like Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep, exactly.
Just getting another job, man.
Yeah. So when we say invest in education, we don't mean go to college. We don't mean invest in grad school. Sure, if you get a scholarship and you get there, good for you, man. Good for you.
I'm not saying awesome. We're not saying don't do it.
Yeah.
But don't think that it's the key for you having a successful business, Yeah.
And more likely it's going to be a key to debt because you'll have a lot of student loan payments and you're going to have to pay it back, right?
Exactly. They don't go away. Yeah. Not unless you do public service or, you have an incentive.
Yes.
They're there.
If you do have some kind of investments or even scholarships, and sure, go ahead and get that degree if it means a lot to you. But
they do tell you that don't they tell you that it helps build your credit? It's a good thing.
Yeah, they say it helps build your credit because you're getting student loans, right?
Yeah, you get some credit history,
Yeah.
It's really great to build the relationships, in the educational process. You meet great people, and it helps you build a vision and inspiration around the paper presence, which is just like get your business license. You know, sometimes
Yep.
that is a big step. It makes you feel official. It helps you understand kind of like your vision in the space of why you're doing it. Um, and it puts money on the table. You know, it's like a bet. It's like you got skin in the game. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think of me here?
I 100% agree with you. I think once you have knowledge, no one can take it away from you, right? Unless you're hit with a brick in your head and you lose your memory. But knowledge is ingrained in you. No one can steal your knowledge. It's yours. And whatever you do with it, it is your property, right? So putting ink and paper is the long-term goal. So yes, focus, spend a chunk of time, daily or even a few times a week, learning new processes. Don't become academic. You gotta actually implement the
Mm.
knowledge you gained and apply it with paper presence. But
Like
do
a
invest.
knowledgeable fool, huh?
Yes, like a knowledgeable fool.
Yeah. You have to invest though.
Yeah, you have to invest because the thing is, right, it helps you hold yourself accountable. If you pay for something, like a new subscription, for example, you want to make the best use of your money, right? And the same thing goes with taking an education course. Sure, you can learn a lot of free stuff on YouTube, but if you actually want to specialize in something, even spending a few $100 into a course will help you hold yourself accountable, and that will make all the difference. But what you learn from it has to be implemented in some way, and that's what the next topic is about: the paper presence and establishing your LLC.
Yeah, I mean, buy a notebook, write out your vision. I found that one thing that was most important to me when I was building my work was not what business I wanted. It was not what I felt like I wanted to do. It was how I wanted to live. What type of life did I want my business to provide me? What capacity do I want to be able to extend myself in terms of that business? And how do I want that to impact people around me? What is the legacy that I want to be able to leave behind? And I had to start with writing it down. I had to write it down. There's something weird about writing stuff down. I've written stuff down in the past and I look back at it and it happened and I didn't pay attention to it, but it was out of my mind. It was on physical paper and I was able to, in effect, materialize those things from them being a part of my unconscious habit. And you can train that subconscious habit. That's like breaking the habit of being yourself. There's different books that you tap into that let you know that you may be not your past. You may be your present, That's the Eckhart Tolle, figuring out how to navigate through tough times, because everyone goes through ups and downs in the business. But write down the mission and vision. And then from there, you at least have an understanding of like, I'm going through with this. Once you realize you're going through with this, you decide the type of business you want, develop your operating agreement, which is essentially, how do I want this business to operate in its life, right? And then possibly what's going to happen to it at the end of its life, or the end of the operator or owner's life, so that you start building out a plan. Building the business allows for you to understand how you want your personal life to go, establishing your own wills, your own trusts, your own estate planning procedures that matter when lights go out. Because at the end of the day, we're building this for it to work, and the best way for it to work is for it to work outside of yourself. So building that long-term vision on something that does not necessarily only take your time and effort in the long term is powerful. Getting that paper presence allows for you to like think that, oh man, I'm taking a step towards that. It's these are steps that help build your confidence, because getting started with contracts and things like that can be overwhelming. But I know that when I got my LLC and my EIN, it just felt like I was official. It felt like I was doing something.
It made you feel accomplished, right? It gave you that sense of things that, a sense of feeling that, wow, I am legit now.
You took
right?
a leap.
I'm an entity. You took a leap, right?
You took a leap,
Yeah.
You're becoming a creditor. And hopefully you're becoming a creditor. I mean, that's where, and what I mean by that is you start building systems and facilitating processes where people are invoicing you money, or they're paying you on monthly payments, where you establish a different level of rapport with people, and you're not necessarily just a consumer in the space. You start understanding how to navigate as a producer, as a manufacturer, as a servicer, in a capacity where you own the system. You don't own the process. You're not part of necessarily the shoveling, but maybe you own all the shovels and the trucks, or maybe you own the gas company, or I don't know. It looks different for different
it's
people.
all about the value you add to the community, right? And that's why it's so important, because
your community too.
Yeah.
It may be like you and your wife, you may not have necessarily the same familial structure. So your community, level of community, and that's, you have to speak to that. You have to define it, right? That person has to define what that community is for them, because that may not wake them up in the morning.
No.
But maybe they find community in their homies. Maybe they find community with their friends or family. And so figure out what that means for you, how you want to provide value to that. And that paper presence allows for you to just build a confidence.
Yeah, paper presence is so important. And, piggybacking off the very first topic, the educational presence, we talked about one of the most moving, life-changing moments for me during the pandemic was when I stumbled across this book called A Miracle Morning. And I happened to read this book at the very, very early stages of COVID-19, when the lockdown started, and there was a lot of anxiety and depression amongst a lot of people because of the insecurity we were feeling. At that point of time, I would say my anxiety level was at a 7 or 8 on 10, because, we were all quite anxious about what's going to happen. We're not certain about the future. But then I happened to read this book, and the book is about this author. His name is Hal Elrod, and he talks about his struggles in life in the early chapters. So apparently, Hal was a very successful salesperson. His life was all set. He was in his early 20s, and he got into a very bad car accident. And that car accident broke nearly every bone in his body. He was hospitalized. The doctor said he would never be able to walk again. And fortunately, he had his community support him. His friends and family visited him during the hospital. They made him feel alive, and eventually he started taking slow steps when he recovered. And miraculously, he actually healed fully, and later on he went on to run ultra marathons. But then there's a second moment in his life where he had another devastating moment, and this was during the 2007-2008 recession. This is when he says that the pain that I was going through during the recession was a lot worse than my car accident, because when he had his car accident, he had friends and family visit him at the hospital. When the recession was going on, everybody was affected. Nobody was watching over each other, so it was a lot more tough for him. So in order to be successful, he researched on what the most successful people in the world do. And after reading a lot of articles online and learning about what successful people do to start their day, he came up with a concept called the SAVERS. And the SAVERS is an acronym for 6 words. And those are 6 action items that successful people do a combination of these every morning when they wake up. And the whole book talks about the SAVERS. So the SAVERS is S for scribbling. So the moment you wake up, S is for silence. So the moment you wake up, you meditate for 10 minutes. It could be 20 minutes, it could be 30 minutes. He tries to bundle the SAVERS into 1 hour, so people can spend maybe 10 minutes on each exercise, and as they evolve, they can change the length of time they spend on each task. But the savers is very simple. So it's like 10 minutes of silence in the morning. And he says, if you wake up at 10 a.m., you can wake up at 9 a.m. and do the savers before you start your day. So S is for silence, 10 minutes of silence. Then A is for affirmation, so 10 minutes of positive affirmations you tell yourself before you start your day. And these affirmations can be, what am I going to do today that will make my day great? They can be unrealistic, but they can also be realistic. So affirmations are positive things you say about things that you desire, about things how you want your life to be. And then V is for visualizations. Visualization is like another form of meditation, but it's all about you visualizing your day. Are you visualizing your month? Are you visualizing your year? And visualizing how positive it will be. So you can close your eyes and visualize about how my meeting's going to be today. I'm going to be doing really well in my meeting. Or you can visualize that this year I'm going to have 25 new clients in my business, and this is how my business is going to be. So visualization is more like having a vision and making your vision into a reality by trying to capture those visualizations and making it a part of your reality. And then E is for exercise, so spend 10 minutes or even more time doing your morning workouts. R is for reading, so spend 10 minutes a day reading. And then S is for scribbling, which is also journaling. So you spend 10 minutes a day writing stuff. It could be writing a blog, writing stuff about your day, writing about your frustrations, writing about what happened yesterday. But once you start putting this in your routine and doing this every day, after 30 days, you will actually start to feel a lot more positive. You will really enjoy waking up in the mornings because you'll feel excited and motivated to do the savers because it's like the anchor that starts your day.
And dude, no, keep going. I'll speak to it later.
Sure. So then, after doing this for like 60 days, from having anxiety at a 7 or 8, my anxiety went down to a 2 or 3. And that's when I realized that this is life-changing for me, and I continue doing this. And today I still do it in some form. I don't do all the savers, but I do the top 2 or 3 things that are most important to me in the morning, and I spend enough time for it to anchor my day. And this also reminds me of something that Dwayne Johnson says a lot, that his morning workouts, it's like the anchor of his day, right? It anchors his day, his workouts in the morning. And he has a very, very crazy workout schedule, but he makes it work. And before he hits the studio, he has to hit the gym, right? So
he barely sleeps.
Yeah,
like he gets like 4 or 5 hours of sleep.
Yeah. Some people function really well with less sleep, and some people need their 8 hours sleep. So
I think I have seasons. There are times where I'm staying up 3, 4 in the morning, pulling all-nighters, getting projects done, and then sometimes where I'm going to sleep at 9 in the morning or 9 in the evening. So I think that there's seasons. For sure, I definitely, there's importance in getting that consistency though.
Yeah, and it just helps you set a routine, right? And having a routine, no matter what your morning routine is, I think the first hour of the day is very important, because if you spend the first hour of your day on your smartphone, it's not really going to motivate you to do much, because after the first 2 hours, your motivation goes down. And if you do something very positive in the first couple hours of your day, it will help define the rest of your day, right? So
I've been waking up very early, and that's like 5, 6. But when I look at the clock again, after all the work that you do, you're like, man, it's only 11 o'clock, or it's only 10 o'clock. Like, that's a good feeling. Knowing that, oh my gosh, I'm walking around working, sweating, doing work on my computer, and it's only 10:40. Like, I enjoyed that. because everywhere I look, I'm trying to I want to be more aware about my time. Because when I started the paper presence, that was two years ago now, maybe 2 years and several months. I definitely have a different approach to my business then than I do now. And that's time, but it took me starting it, getting the paper presence formalized, understanding an operating agreement, understanding how I want to even navigate, building a very plain foundation so that I can really structure it how I want to was pivotal. And it took all that time and constant educational reinvestment for me to get to where I am now. The education has not stopped. It definitely will not stop. But having that paper presence allowed for me to have the confidence mentally, spiritually, but then also formally. It's different when someone say, do you have a business license? And you say no. And it's like, how serious are you?
Yep. And
that's
that's something that,
yeah.
And that's something that a lot of the viewers of this podcast want to know, right? They want to know, how do you get the paper presence? And, this is something that we had a conversation about this when I started my company, and you helped me navigate through the different steps that I need to take to make my LLC established. So do you want to maybe talk about a few important things that viewers listening could do to get started with the paper presence?
Go on LegalZoom, the simple way, easily. Go on LegalZoom, have it figured out, pay the fee. It's like $300 depending on where you live, the state, things like that. And this is only for people who live in the United States. I don't know how this applies internationally. And we're not legal advisors. This is not legal advice. So please speak to your own advisors. I've always wanted to say that. That's pretty cool. But really, it's like, use the systems. If you do not want to take the time to read, or you don't have the time to read, or you want to utilize your resources to have someone else read, use LegalZoom. Use services that allow for you to have the formal process, but don't get ripped over. Ripped over. Don't get ripped off, right?
Ripped off.
I meant to say effed over. Right? That's what I really meant to say. Because it doesn't take that much. There are systems in place, the technology's up to date, where you can have that service done in a timely fashion at a reasonable price. LegalZoom is one example. Once you get your LLC or any other business entity that you want to get based off the taxation and things that you want to achieve, it's pretty easy to get your EIN. It's free, to my understanding. It has been for me. And then you figure out from there. Now you have an entire person or an entity that is there, and that person and entity can own things. They do own things. One of the things that they own or manage is the operation agreement. They manage all the data in terms of your contracts, things that you developed prior to, and you can start moving that way now. So when you approach different institutions, that is the conversation that you start to learn about from the educational presence that you established, knowing how to navigate with the language. Once you build that understanding of how to navigate with language, then you're not put in a place where you're forced to do anything. You know every situation that you're getting into, or at least you're building the awareness and you're approaching them with confidence. Because that confidence is replacing the fear and the lack of understanding about how to approach the situation. Once you're given the keys, it's like you know how to use it, right? And I think that is vital. You start understanding how to develop terms and conditions, and a lot of it is just like copy and pasting, and figuring out how it matches what you want to do. But the point is to know how to navigate the system, so that when you have someone who's doing your operations in the future, it's like, hey, this is this is how you operate my ATMs. You go to each ATM and you do this servicing like this.
Mhm.
There's going to be this armored service that's happening. You're developing a system because you're taking the time to learn about what's going on. You're taking the time to establish it and making the investment to establish your work. And then also, you're developing a way to start approaching in a different language. Because once you approach in a different language, then you get into different things that we're going to be talking about, like financial presence, owning a domain, knowing what that means, having some digital real estate.
Yeah, yeah,
Because this is a little bit off topic, but not like nobody knew what Hulu was before Hulu, right? I didn't do any research on it, to be honest with you, but I don't know what Hulu means. I don't know what it means in another language. So to me, it means nothing. But they made it mean TV. They
yeah.
made it mean Hulu has free sports or live sports, whatever that is. I don't own the rights to that statement.
Yeah. So I guess the key takeaways from this topic for paper presence would be, establish an LLC, get an EIN, and Zoom Info, LegalZoom. Like, there's some really great websites that can make the process easier for you. You just need to put in $300. But if you don't have that money, you can directly file with your state. I believe it's with. You have to first go to the Secretary of State.
Yep.
Yeah. And then once you do that, then you have to go on your local website, right? So I think with Washington, it was
Department of Revenue.
Yeah. So Department of Revenue for the state of Washington. Those are some good websites to go to just complete the paperwork. I believe you can do everything online and submit it electronically. And after that, it's just a matter of waiting. There is a one-time fee for the LLC, but it should be approximately $200, right?
Maybe 200 to 225. I think there's a fee for expediting it.
Yeah, and let's say
when you're looking at this, the educational presence, just to go back, it's like, look at those websites. Go to secretaryofstate.gov, go to dor.gov, Washington or whatever it is for Washington or whatever it is for Texas or wherever you're listening to this, because you can beware of the blogs that are sharing with you, this is how you do this, and then they're selling you the service. Because if it doesn't make sense for you just to get the raw data, you just need to know how much does it cost, what is the real cost, what are the things that I'm going to need, so that if you do end up going to one of those services, you have your ducks in a row.
Yeah,
and you
definitely
know what you're paying for, like that's important.
Yeah. Definitely do your research first. Understand what type of business you want to establish. It might not be an LLC, it might be an LLP if you're practicing something like
legal practice or exactly medical practice.
So yeah, that's great. So after your paper presence, then it's all about your financial and digital presence. With the financial presence, you have to first create a business bank account, because whenever you make income, it will have to go through your business account, and that would be essential for tax purposes. And then get into a system like QuickBooks, which is the most standard system for bookkeeping purposes, but also use spreadsheets to calculate financial data, to keep track of all your expenses, as well as once you have clients, keep track of your income.
And the financial presence, to me, starting off, you don't want to be able to say, or you don't want to say, hey, I don't accept that form of payment. That's like, oh no. You want to be able to take all the money you can.
Yes.
Right? So if you have your LLC, your EIN set up, your bank account set up, hook your Venmo up to your business account, hook your Cash App or whatever that is. If those are the ways that you're receiving money from your business, document it. Document that income And don't run away from taxes. Figure out how to navigate your taxes and make it work, because being in the business space, there are ways to be able to make sure that you deduct properly and you give back to the proper systems in terms of taxation. There are ways to make sure that happens and you are smiling at the end of the year. There are ways for that to happen, right? So take advantage of that. Get all your cash apps, all that stuff set up. If you have an integration on an e-commerce website, make sure you're getting cryptocurrency. Like, don't leave money on the table. If you could take gold bricks, take gold bricks. Do whatever you need to do.
As long as you're documenting it.
And document it, because when you document it, like, it's going to benefit you in the future. If you want to get any sort of capital, raising capital, just documenting to say this is your history, and then figuring out ways to make sure that it's paid out properly, it's invested properly, to where you end up, whatever that is, net zero, or however you want to structure that. But it's important to make sure that you grasp all of it. Even if you probably feel like you're never going to get money from that space, hook it up. Either way, just set up the world, because it's going to allow for you to understand how to navigate those spaces and build the operational systems. So if you're managing that many ways to take in your money, you're just building some system of efficacy and efficiency. Now, in the future, you should probably start honing in and saying, okay, most of my buyers are coming from this space, so maybe I should start developing more of a funnel that's based off of this invoice process or this payment process. So it's all just collecting data, seeing where your market is, and how they want to give you money, really, and that comes from your digital presence and the things that you do on a digital space. But for sure, I think the most important thing is, you don't want to say to someone, I don't know how to take your money. I don't know how to take your money for the exchange of my goods. I think that's vital, and that's going to give you an immediate turnaround on whether or not you want this to work, or you feel like it's going to work, or
And that's why a lot of people hesitate, like, if I take cryptocurrency, how is that going to affect my taxes? But right now we have software to solve that issue. You can connect a lot of platforms, and then you can generate reports. For example, if you have a Coinbase account, you can generate a tax form and send it to your CPA. So don't worry if you feel like it's going to be a barrier for you. I'd say if it's a legal way to do it, if it's a legal form of payment, cryptocurrency is a legal way of paying. Just make sure you document it, and at the end of the year, download the tax forms and upload it and submit it to your CPA, who will help you with your taxes. So.
It's important, man. Understanding how to make and have money be expended from your system is vital. We're in business to make money. Shout out to Nipsey. We're definitely in the business to make money. So know how it works. Know how to navigate it, because really that it translates almost directly to your personal life. It's not like money is exclusive to business and individuals. It's just a matter about how they use it, and what it provides for them. And I think understanding that allows for you to see how you want to be able to move in your space. That's where you help build that understanding.
And once you have the money, you can further make more investments that are necessary for a business. I believe the first thing is purchasing a domain in your niche. So if your business is about services, you want to purchase a domain relevant to the services that you're providing. And I remember us having some conversations in the past, like how the importance of a domain is like real estate, right? Because once you have it, it's yours forever as long as you renew the subscription. And it doesn't cost that much to purchase a domain. So it could be
depending
as low as
on the
$8.
keywords.
depending on the keywords.
Yeah, if it's a highly known, like anything with Amazon in it, probably expensive right now, right?
Or probably not for sale.
Exactly. Yeah, I can see that. But it's investing in yourself, it's like buying gold. But one thing that's great is you put the value in it. You mark up the value by the traffic that you have going through there, the level of awareness that you're building around that. So if people want to scale their business to sell it, those are markers and reports that you can provide to potential investors, if that's what you want to do. Otherwise, it gives you an idea how to articulate a real great presentation to help you scale. I think that is important. And I don't know who was saying this. I'm not sure what I was listening to. They said over like 2/3 of the world's population, or maybe 1/3 of the world's population, is on the internet.
Oh. And the number is going to even increase more because
exponentially.
Now there's access to internet in even like the most remote areas. Like Elon Musk's Starlink is going to power the whole world very soon. So even the most
Nicaragua,
areas, yeah,
they got phones on places where I don't even have service on. So the world's bigger than what we think it is.
Yeah, there's going to be more devices than people, right? So
it's going to be wild, man. And you got to have that bucket, if it's raining on everyone and that rain is money, just have your bucket out, because the money isn't real. Like, it's just, there's just currency in circulation. So all you have to do is just put up a net,
make yourself available.
Make yourself available, and you don't have to make yourself time available, but you make some resources available, or relationships available, in terms of them blossoming and providing you an opportunity that you didn't even think of. You may have got a business deal from meeting someone, and they just said, hey, do you have $10,000? And you're like, dude, I have more than that. So you feel comfortable in investing it, and you have, bam, a business relationship that you weren't even thinking about. And maybe you're a silent investor. There are different ways to approach it. And, getting that digital presence allows for you to just engage with people. First off, get over the fear of presenting yourself, which is major. It's major. It's like people are willing to sell for someone else. They're willing to sell Verizon, but they don't want to sell their own stuff.
Yeah,
that's tragic.
The sad part. Yeah,
it's tragic, man. Put a post up of yourself. If you're gonna post something with you wearing Louis and Gucci, you better be posting something with you and something that you're promoting, because the same way that there's association that they're providing for you wearing their garments, you give the association of the artwork or the work that you provide in your content.
Yeah.
Like, dude, just do it, man. If you want to be a model, start taking pictures of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that hard. There's different ways for you to integrate with yourself. Like, people are out here on TikTok. Moms are out here on TikTok making food.
Yeah.
And that's super normal. But it's on TikTok. Any person that's making food is normal. But when you put it on TikTok, for some reason, they're making money off of this thing.
Yeah, it's all the algorithms.
And it's like, dude, they're doing it. Like, everyone's doing it. There's some people that we just need to be a little bit more creative. Understanding how to navigate it. You don't have to do the work. You might wearing Fabletics. Figure out a way to get a Fabletics affiliate link on your next picture, with your name on it. Mask it with your name or something. The digital presence allows for you to just know that things are happening, and it's not hard to be a part of it in a positive way.
No, it's very easy. You just have to have that one, just a little bit of motivation and a little bit of confidence, and just put it out there. I mean, even if it's choppy work, no artist creates a great painting in the first attempt, right? It's all a matter of repetition, putting in the reps, and consistency and compound interest, and eventually you create a masterpiece. But don't worry if your photos at the start are not very pretty looking. The fact that you're putting it out there online, you're already doing something.
It's just content, dude.
Yeah, it's just content, which is always going to grow organically. And it is important and essential. So yeah, digital presence also means building a website or even a social media page, because once you have a social media page or a website, people can click on a link and get access to your community that you built, the ecosystem that you built. And building a website is not expensive. You can hire offshore developers to do it for you with under $200 or $300.
Facebook is free, man. Instagram is free.
Yeah.
Pinterest
you can even
free.
do it yourself. Watch a YouTube video, do it yourself, and pay $0. But nothing is going to stop you from doing this. It's
not one thing. You can even set it up, and then when you hire contractors, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
that's vital, man. I think you're really good at that, like helping seeing, okay, how do we optimize what's going on? How do I help my team optimize this? Because what did we learn in 2020? What did we learn during the pandemic? One thing I learned was, if you're a restaurant and you're not on the internet, you don't exist. If I can't find you on Yelp, Uber Eats, whatever, with caviar, you're not
alive on the internet.
Yeah. How am I gonna know that there is a burrito bus, a taco bus in the 5 blocks away, in a cut that I've never been to, in a space that I've never been to?
Yep.
I think one thing businesses learned was that if they didn't have that integration, it was really tough to have consistent business, because most of the businesses had orders that were coming in. And even now, if they didn't build the effort to understand how online orders were, it was really tough to even have maintained during that time, because people weren't allowed inside of restaurants. We always have to learn how to pivot, and having the digital presence just makes sense. Figure out a way to outsource it, or have a little cousin do it, big cousin do it, get it done.
Get it done. Have your 5-year-old nephew, who is a very tech savvy, build it for you.
Hey, it's possible, man. They're doing it on on phone applications now. It's too easy almost for, one thing I really enjoyed, and you introduced me to this. When I looked up your name.com, right? It pulls up your portfolio. That's almost revolutionary. And I think when people start recognizing is that even as employees, buy your domain.
Yeah.
Because you are becoming that essence, that entity that stands for this, and this. If you read 48 Laws of Power, Reinventing Yourself, that's a billboard, dude. People will look at your name. When they look at your name, they're saying, bam, I can look this person up.
Yep.
The resume is
your legacy.
Yeah, dude, you could have a resume, but if you take the effort to have a website, they're gonna know this guy's playing at a different level.
Yeah.
Regardless if it's an investor, an employer, and a potential partner, or people you want to inspire. It allows for you to really paint your own message. I'm a big fan of writing, and I'm a big fan of saying, if this was a story, if my life was a story and it was a book, I'm the narrator and the writer. So that's just where it stands on things like that. And you kind of have to have that approach. You're gonna let someone else write your story.
No, you want to own everything. You want ownership from the top line to the bottom line. And
you have to.
You don't have to own it right away, but that should be your goal. How do I own the entire supply chain, right? And it's a very fascinating concept, because when people, let's say you're a sales rep at a company selling hats, the company's in trouble, even though you're a top performer. Your supply chain is disrupted because you can't sell hats anymore because the company's in trouble. So what are you going to do? You have to start your own hat company. You have to own your own factories, be your own manufacturer. So, yeah.
But it really matters. I feel like
Mhm.
I learned this, I wouldn't even say the hard way, but you know, people don't really care about what you got to say until they know what you're standing for, some of the positions that you take, either in private or publicly, or however you wish to display it. So the community matters, you know. You have to always, well, not all, you don't have to do anything. One thing I found that was successful for me was creating a pathway throughout timelines between the start of my business, the middle of it, and the end, and having it circle back based off of the relationships that I've had. The impact that I want to be able to have on the world, providing food, water, shelter, energy, um, and clothing.
Yeah.
Providing those things, I've learned the type of impact that I need to provide, the level of impact that I need to provide based off of the relationships and the people that I met in my past. And that came from a communal presence, from things that I never received compensation for in a monetary sense. But socially, spiritually, and intellectually, I really gained so much perspective and insight from the people that I met and the people that I can still reach out to now. Now, when I am approaching these people, it's going to help build your level of confidence with speaking the language of how businesses operate nowadays. And the online presence was vital in sharing the things that I have provided in my portfolio. But sometimes I got too caught up in the work, and it was really important to always figure out ways to gain perspective in the community, which was family, which was networking events, community empowerment events. That was pivotal for me, and it allows for you to gain perspective on how you wish to present yourself, because the formalization of this effort that we've been talking about, in my perspective, is really being the best that you can be and learning how to navigate the language system. And the language system can be culture, it can be law, it can be all these different things. But if you were to look at it from those ways to master those aspects of life, it would make sense to be intentional about your educational presence. It would make sense to make actionable efforts. There's a book called maybe Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. And one of the concepts in the book was, it's like, do it now. Like, if you have the power and the opportunity to complete something, like, do that shit now. You know, don't wait. You want to be able to kind of have that energy of, like, you know, I got it, I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna do it now. Let's just do it now.
Yeah.
And sometimes that may not be beneficial, but in most cases, when you're doing things for your business, or, oh man, I need to invest in this course, oh, let me just wait till, you know, a month from now or something. No, do that shit now. Do that now. You have to pay $10 for a course,
do it.
Bro, you gotta pay $8 for a domain. Do that now. You know, the small stuff, it's like, it doesn't cost as much as we think. It costs much more mentally. This is one way I like to say. People like to think about the price, but not the cost. You know, and when we're building this understanding about how to move as a business, don't be worried about the price. I'm focused on the cost. And for me, what that means is the price is the physical understanding and physical exchange of goods and services, the money exchange for goods, services.
Yep.
The cost is not negative to me. The cost is the outcome, because we're the cause and the effect, right? We're a part of the experiment and we created it. It's what did it provide? Yeah, I paid $400. I paid over $5,000 into my business, but the cost is me being able to walk on a beach bare feet with my kids all in the ocean. You know, my wife running around with my dog, and we're getting ready to go hop on our yacht. Like, that's the cost to me. The cost to me is my mom never having to work again, and, you know, and me being able to drop, you know, 75,000 on the new Tesla Cybertruck if it ever comes out. You know, the cost for me is also missing birthdays. You know, it's a formalization of your intention. The cost to me is missing networking events. The cost to me is working on your birthday, because I've done all those things. The cost to me is not going to the water park with your children, because it's going to take a whole bunch of like decisions that are tough, but you're formalizing them for a different outcome. You know, because obviously, like the 40-year work for a company, get a pension, that whole system doesn't work anymore. Or at least it does not benefit the general public as it used to.
There's no pensions anymore.
So
it's only 401k.
yeah,
right?
you gotta work for like an insurance company or bank company or something like that. It's very seldom that you find that in company structures, compensation structures now. So I mean, Mahir is definitely one of those people that, when he told me what he did with his former company, I was like, yo, that's like, I learned about that through conversation. I didn't read his resume. I didn't look at his website. That was an intentional time that I took to get outside of myself, experience others, and it helped inspire me. You know, we help inspire each other. I think we were around when we first started both of our companies, like formally. You know?
Yeah, we had a lot of conversations and we picked some ideas and we helped each other out, and that was, you know, like, that's the beauty of our friendship, right? And it's all about the community presence, because at the end of the day, yes, one person can make a difference, but you need a community in order to create change. And if you don't have a community, if you don't create a community for yourself, it's going to be very difficult to navigate the world. For example, I didn't know the importance of having business insurance, but it is something that's important for every business owner to invest in, because eventually, you never know what's going to happen in the future, but putting some money aside for the long-term gains is what makes things very, fruitful.
And that's my background as well. You know, it's, you just got to speak to that. It's like, you take a whole piece of paper, you rip off a corner, and it's like that little corner saved this whole piece of paper.
Yeah.
Easiest way to look at insurance, you know?
Yeah. And I really was fascinated by your journey of, you know, how your insurance career, you transformed it, and now you are running independently. You've ventured into different areas, and you've expanded your horizon, and now you're doing so many side hustles at the same time, and that's the fun part of being an entrepreneur, right? So
and I set it out in the future. A lot of the work that I did, that I'm doing now, I started 2 years ago. The insurance aspect, I just wanted to sell myself insurance. It's really how it starts, you know? You build the understanding about the inspiration, and then you start providing the service for others. And then it's like, all right, I want to do this case by case, and I want to work with these type of people, and I want to, you know, make it worth my while. You start building that understanding and experience through the trials and tribulations that you go through, the no's, the yeses, the yes maybes, the okays, never call you back. You know, like, there's all those things that you learn, and you learn how to navigate. You just don't take things personal, keep chugging along. And you realize that, I love saying this, there's like what, 7 billion people in the world. You're gonna
About
get
to be 8 billion.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
at the end of this year or something.
it's going up, man. There's 7 people. There's 5,000 people. I'm a bet. There's 5,000 people that if you get your message to them, now it may be 5,000 to 50,000. I don't know what your percentage is, or 5,000 of 5 million. But there are at least 5,000 people that would want to listen to your journey. There are 5,000 people that want to buy your artwork. 5,000 people who will touch your ATM. There are 5,000 people who will click on your digital marketing ad. You just have to figure out how to get your numbers and recreate the process that gave you success. What's the 80-20 rule? It's like 80% of your income comes from 20% of the people that you work with, or your intention, or your clientele.
Yeah.
That's your life.
Yeah.
You know, there's like 80% of there's 20% of your life that is giving you 80% of value.
Yeah. It's all about how you center your life around that 20% and target it and make the best out of it. And I'm really excited that we are wrapping up our podcast here, because on the next series we'll focus more and dive deeper into the community presence, which is where we left off today, because the communities that you build will make and define you, and the friendships you develop early on will make a big difference in your life. And I remember how you are responsible for me having my very first client through all the referrals you gave me, so I'm very grateful for that. And that's how a lot of people can start their own companies, by just asking their friends around for referrals and offering to help them, and that can make all the difference. And then eventually they will be able to get more and more referrals and build a community. So
the biggest thing is not answering the question for your friends. So if Mahir tells me, hey man, I have the service where I could provide people virtual assistants and operative services, and you think of some people in your head, but you're like, oh no, they wouldn't want that. No, they wouldn't want that. No, they wouldn't. It's like, you don't know what they want. Just share the information. Just share the information, dude, because you never know what's going to come back and be positive for you. That's that community presence, of being open to the possibility. You have to be open to the possibility, and we're living examples of that. We've shared many conversations about the different things that we went through, positive, negative, depending on how we approach them. So it's something I'm very grateful for. I'm blessed, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your time. On to the next one.